Welcome to the January 30th. Well, we're recording on January 30th, January 31st episode of the Zooch Wilde podcast. This is the first off-season podcast. It's been a while, but now we're
First
ready to
one.
take on the off-season.
We are the long dreaded feeling like you're on a boat in the middle of the ocean off
Yeah,
season.
yeah, of course. But I mean, we'll have some college basketball mixed in, as we've said. But I got to be completely honest. I got to ease my way into college basketball. It'll the college basketball is going to look like an exponential curve on this show. It's going to ramp like that. I got to keep up. But I tell you what, man, college basketball is. We think college football. I think college football is like crazy. College basketball is like just weird.
Yeah.
It's just a weird sport with weird people. Like that's the word I would use. Weird.
Your national title last year was San Diego State versus UConn. You can't get and
Yeah,
FAU was in the Final Four too.
yeah,
I forgot who UConn murdered in their game, but
and you'll have a school like, oh man, lay high. They're going for it this year. Like, what are we doing? But no, anyway, we'll get a little college basketball later in the show. But first, we haven't. We're just gonna take a minute. Zooch, how are your Southern friends with the news of Saban? Just wanted
there
to
was
recap
some
that real quick.
there was some devastation and amongst the Alabama. It was like see, it literally reminded me a little bit of the end of the Return of the Jedi when they like remastered it or whatever, and like the Empire falls, and it just
Yeah.
shows all the different cities like celebrating.
Yeah.
That's what it
Yes.
reminded me of. Is
Yes.
everyone was happy except Alabama fans who immediately started like they're hot. Like it was like 2 seconds after he left and or retired, and they're like, "All right, hot board time. Here comes the hot
Yeah.
board."
I would say my favorite thing to come out of that might be I'm being completely honest when I say this too. The second best Paul Feinbaum soundbite of all time, behind only Harvey Updike. The guy going, "No, damn Dabo, no, no," and he just spitting. What is it?
I'll
What
cut
was
my
his
arm
name?
off.
Yeah.
Champ, I
Oh my,
think.
champion from Oh my gosh, was it champion from Alabama?
I believe so.
It was some name that was just like a regular word. He's like, "No, damn Dabo, you hear me?" And he was like, "Come back, Saban, wake me up."
Yeah, it was hard times for. I mean, they've had such hard times in the past. How many years was he there? Like 16. You're in the national title like every year. Basically, you have six of them. Like
Yeah.
everything eventually comes down.
Yeah, and it's tough too when like if you're an Alabama fan because if you're in your 20s, you don't really remember a lot of the stuff, and all the stuff has been said before. But 30-year-old, 40-year-old Alabama fans, yeah, I think they're excited about Kalen DeBoer because I would too. I think he's probably the best they could have done considering all the circumstances. Unless obviously Kirby Smart wanted to go, but he's never leaving Georgia. But the thing with Alabama fans, the older ones, immediately when Saban's fired, they just get Mike Shula flashbacks.
Yeah,
What is it, Mike Shula Jr.?
yeah. Or no, his dad was Don Shula, so
So it was Mike Shula.
just Mike Shula. Yeah,
Mike
Mike
Shula.
7 and 6 Shula.
Yeah, with oh my gosh, who was that guy from that one reality TV show? The
Uh,
quarterback. Oh
not
my gosh. This
not
oh we
John
should
Parker
know this.
Wilson. Not
It
him.
might be John Parker Wilson. Let me get a look up real quick.
Yeah, him. He went to the two a days.
Yeah, two a days. Yep. Yep, John Parker. Yep, that's him. Gosh, look at the bowl cut on that guy. All right. But yeah, let's I mean with all these new faces, obviously Kalen DeBoer comes into Alabama. There's a lot of other coaches that are coming in. Kind of want to do you think Kalen DeBoer is going to find success the quickest out of all the new coaches? And we're just going to assume for argument's sake that it's Moore who takes over at Michigan. There's a
He
couple big
did. They
jobs.
they announced him. He is
They
at
did? Okay.
Michigan.
Yeah, so
Uh
out of all of the new coaches, do you think DeBoer finds success the quickest, or do you think it's someone else?
I don't think it's him. Like what I guess I would ask, what do you base success like if he's like we'll say 11-2 next year and they lose in the first round of the playoffs, do you think
I
that's
think
he's more successful? Because mine is going to be Brett Britton at Arizona because I
that
think
was that was mine as well, actually.
okay.
Dang, I thought I was going to be able to pull the fast one on you and have the smart guy pick. Yeah, no, I would say success is like program based. We talked on this show before about how like Ole Miss, a CFB appearance and like maybe a win is like the best. Like that's a 10 out of 10 season. Like
Right.
as much as they could say they want to win the national championship, like that's a season. Where if you're Alabama, you can lose 2 games and then win the Peach Bowl against like a crummy like Iowa State team, like on a random year, and that's a failure at Alabama. So I
Right.
also think Brent Brennan is going to because he hasn't lost as many players to the transfer portal as I thought, and that guy was working with dog food at San Jose State. Like I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
and
like
they were
it's sad, but I think he's going to do well at Arizona.
yeah, no, San Jose State, I seriously don't know if I've know a single player of theirs that's ever been to the NFL. I mean, I know they've had people in the NFL, but they are in a place where there's what Cal's always better than them, Stanford's always better than them. They're not that far away from San Diego State, UCLA, like there's a lot of schools out there, and he made them.
Hmm.
He won a Mountain West championship with them. I
He
granted I know
did.
it was the COVID year, but
He did.
they are bad, all like horrible all the time. So
Yeah. The thing with Brennan too is that I think he kind of brings a calming presence. Like I think that's the best thing. He's not like the rah-rah guy. He's like a tell it like it is, very feelings, gonna get to know players and staff. And I think for a school like Arizona that has financial trouble right now too, I think that like kind of steady hand, maybe not like the crazy rah-rah guy, is the way to go. And I think, like I said, like a 10 out of 10 season for Arizona is winning a New Year's Six Bowl, probably like maybe making the playoff, I would say is a 10 out of 10.
well, yeah, and that's
And
what
I
I was
think
kind
Brent
of
Brennan can do that. He has the
yeah, and that's
ability
what
to
I was
do
kind
that.
of basing it on is the Big 12 seems kind of wide open next year. Like
Hmm.
it's one of those conferences like that I'm basically like and if you have a matchup on random Saturday in the Big 12 and I know this team is gone now, but like Kansas versus like that's the one conference that I'm like not shocked when like Oklahoma would be number 4 and lose
It's
to
going to be
Kansas
pretty
State
wide
like
open.
48-28 somehow.
The
So,
Big 12 is going to be fun next year. You're going to have like Dion, to see what Colorado does. You're going to have Nebraska maybe building towards something with Raiola. You're going to have Cam, 10th year rising, playing his. I don't know how that guy's still playing college footballs, but he's still doing it, his thing. So it's going to be interesting. You have TCU; they always seem to recruit well, but they kind of disappointing year last year. And Mike Gundy in Oklahoma State always seems to be solid. But yeah,
right.
I think with Kalen DeBoer, it's going to be interesting because I think Alabama will make the playoffs, and it like objectively will be a solid year for them.
Yeah.
But I think the Alabama fans will be like lost because I don't think they'll win the Natty. And then it's Alabama, so anything can happen. But I think some of the losses in their secondary are going to come back to bite them via the
Right.
portal and the draft this year.
I agree. Yeah, it's going to be I'm looking forward to see how they do because they go to Wisconsin next year, right? And then their
Yes,
first home SEC game is Georgia.
I
So
think so. They do play Georgia.
the
Yes.
takes will be flying if they get
Yeah.
killed in that game.
Yes. Look, who's that one Bama fan who like wears no shoes? Who like
uh,
he's like Bama, Bama.
Blitz,
Oh,
baby, Blitz.
yeah, Blitz, baby
I
Blitz.
can't think of his name, but I know who you're talking
He
about.
will have an
Bad teeth.
opinion if they lose to Kirby with Kalen DeBoer.
He
Yeah.
will.
All right. Last thing on the coaching search. Who do you think does a better job in their first year? Elko at A&M or Sharon Moore at Michigan, considering the standards of like different schools, 10 out of 10 seasons are different.
I think Moore will do. I think he and I know that like Jim Harbaugh recruited a lot of those guys and it was his system and stuff, but I think there's something there to be an interim coach and go like 4-0 or whatever it was. He beat Ohio State. He held them to get they seem to really want to play for that guy, and I don't think that's going to
Mm-hmm.
change. We'll see. And they're Michigan; they're still going to get good.
Mm-hmm.
Even this year, they didn't have they don't. Michigan's not getting top 5 recruiting classes. They get good recruiting classes, but they're not out recruiting your Georgias, Alabamas, even Ohio
Ohio State.
State and Penn State. I think those two always have a better recruiting class, but Michigan finds a way to win. So
Michigan with their recruiting classes, they're always like the recruiting class that's just like there's no 5 stars, but there's also like no 3 stars. So you
right,
just have like these solid guys that probably as weird as it sounds, it's probably like that artificial chip on their shoulder, not soldier, shoulder, where it's, oh man, no one believed in me. It's like, well, you're still a top 300 recruit. Maybe you just didn't have a 5 star. So I
Yeah,
don't know.
exactly.
I think Sharon Moore at his best could be like a souped up steroided Ryan Day, where like, yeah, he's kind of born on third base, but can continue Harbaugh's program.
Exactly.
Oh, sweet. Well, speaking of continuing programs, we'll do a little bit of Boise State news real quick, just because we are a little bit homers, as much as we don't want to admit that. But Chris Marshall, the old Texas A&M and Ole Miss receiver, is at Boise State now. Kind of a tumultuous journey to get here. Former 5 star, former top 25 player in the country when he came out of high school. Yeah, this is his last shot. I guess that's all I can say, and I'm
It,
excited for him.
I'm excited for this season too, but I either feel like this season is going to be like BSU's 12-1 wins the Mountain West and in the playoff, or everything just come. It's kind of like you're in blackjack. We're sitting on like a 13 right now, and the dealer
Yep.
is showing like a 7. So you're like, all right, they're probably gonna have 17 if I hit right here, and it's a good card. I'm either gonna be at like 19 or higher, 18 or higher, or I'm gonna bust. So we're either gonna we're gonna get the jack and
Well,
bust, and he's gonna get kicked off the team. Oh my god, I can't think of the quarterback's name right now. From
Nelson.
now, Malachi Nelson is not going to be very like. There's a lot of
The Indiana receiver maybe is not fully healthy. Oh, yeah.
there's a lot of like there's a lot of promise there, but that doesn't always turn into like it doesn't always work out. I really hope it works out. I think it should work out, like based on like you can't be mad at a team for going out and getting guys who are good recruits. Like we'll see with Chris Marshall. Like he has to know that you cannot get in trouble anymore, dude. You got kicked off of 2 SEC programs and technically 3 because he was going to play basketball at Texas A&M, but they're like, no, like you're done. So
I
I mean, I
also
never
think
thought I would see a day where we get like that good of a receiver based on stars and that good of a quarterback based on
stars.
stars.
And yeah,
So
the star rating too. I mean, we saw, I think Boise, sometimes we see the stars, right? Because we don't really see, as Boise fans, we don't see those big stars often. So when we
right,
see those big stars, like when we see a Halani or a Shakir, when they were a 4 star at like coming out of high school on some accounts, everyone was like, "What? Like this is insane." Then you also have to realize like Bachmeyer was a 4 star, and there's a lot of like star busts out there. But I mean, statistics don't lie. Like winning programs have more 5 stars. It's just proven.
yeah,
That
exactly,
like that's an irrefutable stat. So I'm excited for Chris Marshall. I think a different change of scenery is good for him.
right,
I think because he's from Houston, Texas. I think getting to Boise, and hope he realizes that like this is a place that you can get the because I think he's not in a position to be like I want a ton of NIL. I think
yeah,
Boise was like we don't have that, but also like can you really like command to ask that? Like what we
right,
give you is like you will have an opportunity to be one of the top 3, probably top 2 receivers on the team if you play to your ability, which will get you to the league.
exactly.
And like that's his goal at this point. And Boise is a program that can get him to the league.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. Like I said, we have Genty on paper when you have Genty coming back, who is one of the best, some people consider the best running back in the nation coming back.
Hmm.
5-star quarterback, 5-star receiver, the kid from Indiana who's supposed to be pretty good.
Latrell
Prince
Caples,
Strawn. Yeah,
leading
Latrell
receiver from 2 years
Caples.
ago, coming back.
Yeah,
I
so we
think the O
have a
line
lot of
returns like 3 starters or something like that. So yeah,
right.
it'll
So
be
we have a lot a lot of promise and I mean every team has a lot of promise. It doesn't always mean I mean
hopefully
we had the
Spencer can get that.
conversation in the season like a quarterback like I'm not even just the stars thing. A quarterback can be pretty good as freshman season like Taylor Green was and then it just they
Doesn't
don't
work
take that
out.
next step. So
Hmm.
we'll
So no,
see.
it'll be exciting for sure. And I think that's all, at least as a Boise fan, the last thing I'll say, that's all you can really ask for right now. It looked pretty bleak in the middle of the season, like pretty bleak. So just to have some sort of excitement. And yeah, I like I like the tough decisions I think Danielson's had to make too. Like,
Yeah,
I think Danielson's doing everything right so far, which is I think
yeah.
I'm trying to think as if that's what I thought about Avalos too this first year. Oh man. Then no, I don't want to think of the bad man. But but yeah, no, I'm excited for the season, man.
I can't wait. I cannot wait.
Well, to completely shift gears, as we said in the last couple episodes of our season shows, that we will be touching on more college basketball. So to completely flip to college basketball, like I said at the beginning of the show, this is a weird sport. With weird sport, you get these weird fan accounts, even weirder than some of the college football fan accounts, and even weirder reporters is what I would say. And there was a debacle on Twitter, more specifically in the Big East fan community. Jeff Goodman, who works for the Field of 68, kind of like a bracketology college basketball website. A lot of well-known writers and sportscasters kind of work for them, like John Fanta. I think Doug Gottlieb does some work with them as well. And Jeff Goodman works there. And Jeff Goodman, he's always Zach. What would you say? He's always kind of been like that fringe. Like, do people like him? Do people not like him? Is that like fair to say even before this incident?
Yeah, he was always like I knew the name. I don't like read a ton of his stuff or anything like that because there's college basketball is so big and it's weird because not that in a weird way almost every team matters because legitimately any team in
Going into
Division
their
One can
conference
make
tournament has a
yeah
shot.
has a shot. So you have a like Goodman. Would read a few stuff, but he's in like that league like you said of like
Big
people you know, but you don't like. I don't ever read a ton of like outside of BSU and a couple other like bracketology stuff. A ton of like
I got that John Rothstein, baby. He's the GOAT.
yeah, John Rothstein I follow and his
Same.
lies that he makes up about. Don't you realize
Yeah,
Iowa
that's
Western is
yeah.
playing
Or when
whoever?
people are like, "Hey, like Detroit's playing San Francisco," and he's like, "I don't know. Like UCF isn't scheduled to play Detroit this year or next year. We'll have to call their coach to see if they scheduled a home and home." It's like
Exactly.
okay. Or it's like, "Are you watching an NFL playoff today?" And he's like, "Yeah, like you said, Iowa's playing Northwestern State." Or something like that. No, he's great.
Right, Northwestern State 16-1 this year.
Yeah.
Haven't been this like Indiana State 16-1 this year. Haven't been this good since Larry Bird's first year or whatever
Yep.
he'll
In his
say.
sayings. Yeah. So back to Jeff Goodman. He's always kind of been like that fringe reporter, and he's friends with current Georgetown coach Ed Cooley, and Ed Cooley was the former Providence head coach. And these are both rivals in the Big East, the same conference. There was this freelance YouTuber. His name was like Blue Demon Degen, right? Blue Demon
Yeah.
Degen. He went and just kind of made like a passion project on Ed Cooley leaving Providence for Georgetown. Kind of like an hour-long YouTube documentary. Got John Fanta, got some Providence super fans in there, got some local journalists to talk in it, and it kind of like details Ed Cooley's like rise at Providence and him leaving Providence. In that documentary, there were some stuff because there was some controversy around Ed Cooley leaving. Some people said, "Hey, he already had one foot out the door during the season, so he wasn't really trying at Providence." And they're
Sorry to
also
interrupt. Speaking of Providence, do you feel like every year when you go to fill out a bracket that they're the team who's like anywhere from a 7 to 10 seed and they're like 20-11 every single year?
yep,
That you
them and Seton Hall. Them and
yeah,
Seton Hall is just yep. It's Seton
they're
Hall is
somewhere right
always
there.
like an 8 or 9 seed.
Right.
Always. And Creighton. Creighton's also one of
Great.
those
Yeah.
ones. And then also, oh my gosh, there's one more. What is it? And then you can also always count on like UC Santa Barbara being a 12 seed. Those
Right.
are the givens in March Madness. But
UC Santa Barbara will be like beating whoever the high ranked seed they have. They'll be like up 28-20 with like 6 minutes left in the first half, and then
mhm,
you'll be like kind of peeking at it when you're watching the tournament. It'll be like up in the corner, and you're like, oh, I got to get
yeah,
over to TBS once this half ends, and then you get over there
yep,
and it's 35-28, the 4 seed, and you're like, oh,
exactly, exactly. But back to the Jeff Goodman. So this YouTuber, like Twitter personality, Blue Demon Degen, makes this documentary, and some of the stuff in it was true, but there's also a lot of speculation. Like there was some rumors that Ed Cooley was cheating on his wife, so the reason why he had to leave Providence to go to Georgetown was to like an ultimatum to get away from his mistress. Again, these are rumors. There was also some very rude things said about Ed Cooley in the documentary. I think one of the fans compared him to Hitler. So again, like very because the Providence fans hate Ed Cooley for like kind of betraying them.
Yeah,
Um,
which is
so
fair. If you go from to an arch
exactly,
rival, that's like fair.
yeah,
Sorry.
it's very fair. Jeff Goodman then uh used his power to get that documentary on YouTube flagged because they used like some like game footage or something. So got him flagged, got the his secondary account Big East Films taken down, and then he DM'd Blue Demon Degen, and he was like, he was like, "You're gonna get sued," and like the guy's like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, dude, like you can't do that. Like I can't believe you even posted that." And then the phrase that he's like, "You might even go to jail," and like Blue Demon Degen's like messing with him the whole time. And the phrase that the college basketball world is now a phrase that will be said forever. He said, "How do you look in orange?" Or was it "How do you look in orange?"
I
Or do you
believe
think
so.
you look
Yeah.
good? You look good in orange, insinuating that Blue Demon Degen would be going to prison for, I guess, like copyright infringement. I didn't know you could do that. I thought they just like take the video down.
Yeah.
So the documentary is now taken down. I think it's been re-uploaded on other stuff, but it'll probably be one of those things that constantly is down, up, down, up. It's called Divine Providence if you can find it. It's a great documentary. The first 50 minutes of what I would say is very like well done, like channeling like Ed Cooley's like history in Providence, the history of Providence basketball, him like leaving and like kind of like the parallels, like because he did have one foot out the door. Like that
Yeah.
is irrefutable. The last 15 minutes is still well done, but it gets into a little more speculation stuff, a little bit more of the hatred stuff, a little bit more of the he said, she said. Oh, I said Ed Cooley leaving a bar like with a girl that wasn't his wife and like stuff like that. Again, those are rumors and not fact, but it's what the people in Providence said. So yeah, and then the entire basketball community pretty much dunked on Jeff Goodman for like threatening like a random fan. Like I don't know, it was just weird, and it's Jeff Goodman being the Ed Cooley supporter. Like you just look like such a dork. Like
Yeah.
oh I like and you could if you know Jeff Goodman, he wasn't joking. Like he was like, "Oh, you might actually go to jail, man." It's like, "Shut up, you fucking goober." Like shut up.
Well,
Like
college basketball, a lot of their writers and stuff seem like these gatekeeper types that
mhm.
they're almost mad if there's fans like us who like college football like a lot more. And then we
Yeah.
like college basketball, but we don't, live and breathe like, oh, I gotta watch the first game of the season when Boise State plays Idaho's. Like, I gotta watch it. It's like it's not the same. Like, I would watch Boise State versus Idaho State in football, but if like I have the choice and we have a home football game and a home basketball game, I'm not going to that home basketball game.
And I
And
100%
it's
yeah.
like they are just like I don't know, like jealous of
It's not so
college
jealous.
football
It's
in a
also
way.
taking themselves too seriously. Like they almost people view college football as like this crazy. And this is all again a generalization. People in college football are loud and they're unapologetic, and it's almost like, yeah, I'm gonna come at you and like fans, and you're gonna come at me. And I love college basketball, but it is more like, and especially in the Big East. After watching the documentary and kind of surfing Big East Twitter, because the Big East is different. Like if this
Yeah,
was the SEC, there wouldn't have been reporters coming up. But the Big East is a very tight knit, kind of like closed. Like we are. It is I don't want to use the word elitist, but there is a little bit of arrogance in the Big East, in my opinion, that like we are the center of the basketball world. We were the first
right.
mega conference in college basketball, Northeast New York. We run basketball culture. So you do get this kind of like arrogance and like, what do you mean? Like you're just like putting out like blabbish, like you can't like do that. And it's like,
Well,
dude, there's people on SEC message boards saying that like Brian Harson's like tied to Al Qaeda. Like, like this is this like
right.
it's just completely different.
Yeah, it is. And my perfect example is Mike White, who is it? I think that's his name. It's something. It might be Mark. I think it's Mike White. Was it Florida? Took over after Billy Donovan left. And last year, I want to say, maybe the year before, he left and went to Georgia, and it wasn't like nearly the big deal that Ed Cooley was for leaving
It's the
Providence to
Big
go to
East.
Georgetown.
The
Yeah,
Big East,
exactly.
because a lot of those, it's like this, and I personally, part of me loves it because if you remember, the Big East almost died. Like
Yeah,
in the mid 2010s, it almost died when the football schools left. And now that UConn's back in the Big East for basketball, it is. I love that it's revitalized it. I love that all of the schools pretty much are close to each other. Like shoot, Boise's closest game is in Reno and Utah State, and you got Providence just like popping over to shoot St. John's in New York to play or UConn to play games. Like it's everything's so close there.
yeah,
So I
exactly.
think in that case, but Jeff Goodman, he just and he can say all he wants, like, "Oh, I let emotions get the best of me." It's like, dude, you have to know as like someone in the media, like I'm not like we're not the biggest in the media. I'm not threatening like anyone with like jail time. Like if someone like I know some people who like play college sports. If someone went out and was like, "Oh, this guy who plays college sports, like I don't like him. He's kind of a scumbag because he entered the transfer portal." I'm not going to DM that fan and go, "Wow, I can't believe you said that. I might have to get the my lawyers involved to like sue you because that's libel." Like
Right.
you just don't do that.
Yeah, it helps to grow your sport. It's good for you. Like you might not love it, but it makes people interested in your sport, which
Look,
is
I
good.
I totally would have backed if Jeff Goodman wanted to be like publicly came out and was like the claims at the end of this documentary are not true. And it is
Right.
simply like not true. Ed Cooley did not do this. Like I would have been like, all right, like you're reporting and you got a scoop to report. But like I just can't believe someone would and I don't think I'm overreacting just because it's Jeff Goodman. Like if this was like a top-notch guy, I'd be like, oh man, he probably just thought the best. But Jeff Goodman's kind of been like this weird, like kind of like elitist, like you've said, kind
Yeah.
of like brown noser to get to the top Big East Twitter guy for a while. And apparently he also blocks everyone. I didn't know that, but apparently he just
Yeah.
like blocks random people.
I think like I
Also, Rob Dowster, his friend, had some stuff too that like I would get your lawyers ready. I think he handled it a little bit better because he at least spoke on it. But it is what it is.
yeah, he looks like a fool at the end of the
The one
day.
the one person who in this scenario who I think might get caught in the crosshairs and people on Twitter have been saying this is John Fanta. Because people if you listen to college basketball on Fox on Saturdays, he usually does the Big East games calling them. He's a great reporter. If you need someone to follow for college basketball, honestly go John Fanta and John Rothstein. Those are
Yeah.
my two. And he was in the documentary, and this was like pretty much like a student film. Like he just decided to do because John Fanta's a good dude, and John Fanta works at the same company. He works at Field of 68 along with Fox, so he's kind of in an awkward position now. Where, like his employer is threatened to sue a documentary that like he was a part of. So
Right. And he
uh,
probably didn't know what all was gonna be. They probably just like he probably was like in the same realm of our thinking of, oh, this will like it's an interesting story.
yeah,
A guy who, I mean, he was at Providence for like,
10 years.
yeah, years. So, and he was going to a school like Georgetown has been good before. They've been down a lot recently, but Georgetown is like a if like you're a big college basketball fan, everyone knows Georgetown. Like you see that name and you're like, oh, I like,
Mhm.
I've heard of Georgetown. So he's probably just trying to help out.
Yeah. Oh well, we'll see how this turns out. Maybe the Providence will go on a little run. But let's get to the meme matchups of the week. Since it's college basketball, we'll be doing college basketball meme matchups of the week. Suj, do you want to take it, or do you want me to rip it?
I'll go first. My me matchup is Rick Pitino and the
Yep.
Red versus Sean Miller.
Oh no. Oh, I have a different one.
You have a different
Oh,
one?
yeah. I have a different one. So yours is Xavier versus St. John's.
Mhm.
That is. Imagine the sweat. That is all-time sweat matchup. All you need is Gary Patterson. That's
Do
that's
you,
the sweat trio right there.
if you want to see a funny video, people listening, do yourself a favor and go look at Rick Pitino after who was it they were playing the other day hit a game winner? Marquette hit a game winner.
He just falls.
He said like he like rather die as opposed to lose. And like later that night, they lose on a buzzer beater, and he just collapses to the floor.
I mean, my opinions of Rick Pitino are not positive, but even I can admit that man, he is one of the funniest characters sports has ever seen. I
That's
can't
what
get
I.
enough of him. He's
That's
like
why
a
I'm
car
happy
wreck
his
to
son is
watch
at
to
New
me.
Mexico. They're so similar, and like the hair is the same. Like they look almost identical, and it makes like the scummy college basketball coaches make the
Yep,
sport better. Like you
they're
just know they're
scummy
just trying to
college.
get away with everything, and that's how the sport is. And I think that goes back to like the reporters who are like so defensive of some of these coaches. They know,
Mhm.
like they want to act like that's only a football thing. No, it's not. Basketball coaches are just as bad, if not way worse. So, but
Mhm.
who's your me matchup?
Oh, mine is Rick Pitino and the Red Storm of St. John's versus Danny Anger Issues Hurley this Saturday in the Yukon Huskies. So at Madison Square Garden, I honestly, just a heads up to everyone listening, the me matchup of the week might just be whoever St. John's plays. Like honestly, like Rick Pitino, do yourself a favor, watch if you can't watch the Xavier St. John's game because that's during the week, right? Like that's the weekday game.
Yeah, that
So
one's tomorrow. I want to say.
well, when this is released, it'll be today.
Yeah,
And the Yukon St. John's game is on Saturday. So if you can't watch on the weekday, watch on the weekend. And just Rick Pitino, he's like a drunken strike of lightning trying to like dance around like a DUI charge. Like that's what I would say. Like it's just chaos. It is such controlled chaos, and he's just a greasy guy, but he's also like a great basketball mind. It's beautiful. He is the Big East. Rick Pitino is the Big East.
that's what part of me want, and I would never really want someone to get fired. So I really hope, like, in a way, Kentucky, because they look pretty good this year, like
Oh, if
loses in
Cal
the
was
round of
if
32.
Cal gets back to the
32,
don't
and he
stop it.
comes-
Oh, stop it. No. We cannot have Cal in the Big East.
Let's see. Let's see some
That's
of
a
the.
new.
If he came, like that new Villanova coach is kind of on the hot seat. If he came there, it would be wonderful.
Oh my gosh. Or if he went to that I mean, I can't believe Dayton's in the Big East. That's the one or is it the DePaul? DePaul's in the Big East and
Yeah,
Dayton's in the
DePaul's
A10.
the
Terrible.
weirdest, and Creighton's in the Big East, which is extremely weird. But
That is weird. That is weird. Oh well, we'll see. Funny me matchups. All right, we're gonna end the show with a football high-low Buffalo. Since it's the off season, we can get kind of funny and creative with these because there's no games. So today's high-low Buffalo is high-low Buffalo coaches we'd like to have a beer with. So there's a lot of, and this is for football coaches. Football coaches, we personally like to have a beer with. I'll go first. My number one coach I would like to have a beer with, and I want this beer specifically at the end zone, and it is Jason Eck at
Jason,
Idaho. I think Jason Eck would be like just to have a share a picture with Jason Eck at Idaho would just be the great. He's probably got some stories that he could tell. He seems like a genuine dude, and he also seems like he can like throw down like 14 of them.
yeah,
So like we'd be there all day at the end zone hanging out, drinking. Yeah, Jason Eck. Do it, Jason Eck. You're in Moscow, man. If you're ever in, let me know if you come to Boise. I'll buy
he
you the
also
first
looks like
round.
he could own a bar.
Yeah,
Like
no,
just on
yes.
appearance, he looks like would like own a bar.
Yeah, you know how like Saban has like all those car dealerships like post retirement. Jason Eck's gonna open like the biggest party bar in Pullman and Moscow for college
Yeah,
students. Right?
it'll be a great place to go. My number one is based on similar reasons, just because I would want to hear like him explain like not only stuff that's happened to him, but like different, like he's worked for different people, been all over. It's got to be Lane Kiffin. I would have to ask about the getting fired on the tarmac. I would have to
Yep.
ask about like getting fired after the SEC championship
Yeah.
because he like told his agent, like said he was going to interview for FAU, working with Saban, like the stuff with Jimbo Fisher, the stuff at the stuff at Tennessee. There'd be so much there. I would seriously have to ask him if he knows who Big Bull Daddy is. I'd be like, please tell me you know
You
who
know,
Big Bull Daddy.
Kiffin. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Maybe like all-time YouTube personalities to get a beer with. Big Bull Daddy's up there. I don't know if he can drink with his leg, but we'll see. Yeah. Um, Low. So the coach I would least want to have a beer with is a combination of I mean publicly, I don't know any of these people like personally, but his public persona seems standoffish to me. Um, he kind of seems a little scummy to me. And this is all public persona. And he proved with a recent coaching move that he wasn't loyal either, and he killed a kid. It's Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly is the person I would least want to share a beer with, which is a shame because apparently there's so many good bars down in Louisiana at LSU. But I think Brian Kelly, it would just be like pulling tooth and nails, and it'd be like I wouldn't know what to ask him about. I'd like
Yeah,
all the stuff I wanted to ask him about. I feel like he wouldn't tell me. Like I feel like Jason Eck or Kiffin open up the stories. I feel like Brian Kelly would just be like, "Rrr, we got a great team. What are you doing, Diego?" So yeah,
he wouldn't be
Brian
fun.
Kelly. It's
Mine
my
is
low.
he also has anger issues and gets a little bit ticked off when 90-year-old former coaches
Oh
say his
no.
teams aren't tough. And that's Ryan Day. He just doesn't seem like he'd be like, I don't know. I like look at the Big Ten and a lot of the coaches there like look like they would be fun. There's two who stand out as they don't look like they'd be fun, and that's James Franklin and Ryan
So
Day.
I think James Franklin wouldn't be the worst to have a beer with.
Do you think
I
you
think
would?
James Franklin is just like a guy who's like perma stressed at his job. And if you got him in a bar, he'd be like, I needed this, man. Like, let's toss some cornhole or like some darts. And would just like vent all of his frustrations. You know who would be intense to drink with, but not on this list, the Big Ten? I feel like PJ Fleck would just be all over the place. That,
he,
that,
he would be the
be
wild
all over.
card.
Yeah, he's a wild card for sure.
He would definitely. You would not know like he's your friend that you go out with, and you're kind of watching them because you're like, all right, they could get like they might end up getting kicked out.
Yeah.
They're going to be a lot of fun, but they might end up getting kicked out and making a scene to where like four of us are like, no, we need to get in this Uber. Like we got to go home. You need to chill out. Like
That is funny. Yeah, and my Buffalo is actually the same as your high. So my Buffalo coach would be Lane Kiffin. And the reason why he's the Buffalo coach of getting a drink with him is because, like you said, I think his stories would rival none. What I would worry about is like post 11:30. What are me and Lane Kiffin going to get into? And it can't be good because I'm just
that's
picturing this, man. We're both like 3 buckets in Pensacola, Florida, and the night is young, and I don't look. I like to have fun. Lame seems like he like to have fun. I It just seems like we might polish too many of Bad Boys off, like with Lane, because I'm just
he's a
picturing me
yapper
drinking with
too.
Lane would be. It has to be on the Gulf Shore. You can't. It has to be on the Gulf Shore with Lane. But yeah, I would love his stories. I just feel like we would get into some like, hey, I know a place down the road you want to go, and it's like a tin shack. It's like, oh, what are we doing here, man? So yeah, that's why he's my Buffalo.
I was surprised you didn't have a certain coach who likes to kick kick NFL kickers and then after losses go to bars in Cincinnati and be feeling up
He's
20
not on a
something year old.
team. I was only doing current coaches. Herb is the all-time wild card.
Just be like, so when did you know and Aaron Hernandez was a psychopath? Was it before or after he like made someone deaf and then shot somebody while he was in
I
the
feel
same
like if I
night?
had a b- I feel like if I had a beer with Urban Meyer, I feel like he would just start like high school like bullying me, like put me in a noogie and like flick my earlobe and like call me a wimp or something like that.
Like not like it's like just pour your drink out and be like, you gotta go get another one. Something like
Yeah, you not get it. Just like blow like cigarette smoke in my face, be like, "You're not getting one. These are mine." Or,
I could definitely
"Am
see
I
him.
too close to you?"
I could 100% see him being that way. Just like they. Also, another coach I would not go drinking with is Sark. Sark is on the list of like,
For his own good.
yeah,
Sark's probably a great time. But for his own good, he is disqualified from this
from
competition.
drinking. So my Buffalo, and I'll be honest, I didn't know. I thought it could be anyone who could like was a college football coach.
Oh,
So I
go
had
for it. Yeah.
okay. So it would be a double duo just because I would want to hear their stories because they play like both their programs were great. Like the winner of this game, always like was going to the national championship or close to it, and it'd be the combo of like Jimmy Johnson and Bobby Bowden. I would love
Okay.
like I know Bobby Bowden was a real big Christian, so I don't think he'd really drink,
I feel like
but just
Jimmy
like
Johnson would be a fun time.
yeah, he would be he would have so many stories. Like he has been, and I know it's not college football, but he's been around Jerry Jones. He was at the height of the NFL. He was at the height of college football. Like played like every year they were playing like Notre Dame or Florida State or all these good teams, and it'd just be fun to hear like his like philosophy, like how he like changed his philosophy from college to the NFL and like the way he was, like all that kind of stuff. I think those two would be really fun to go get a couple beers with and just hear like different stories they had of
Definitely.
like being so dominant in a sport, especially specifically like even Bobby Bowden, like the 90s, they had like one loss every year, if that. Like
Yeah.
they were
I think
great. So it'd be fun.
yeah, that'd be fun. The one honorable mention I had was it's a very obscure one, but it was Justin Wilcox. Just because he just like reminds me of just like a chill ass dude in like the Bay Area. It's
He
just like,
does.
all right, like I guess like me and Justin Wilcox just gonna shoot the shit. But yeah, that was it. Was there an honorable mention or two that you had to leave off?
Well, I went to see if this guy ever got into coaching because I was like, oh, maybe he, after his career ended, he retired relatively young for like being an NFL player because he's only 45 now. I was like, maybe he became a coach, even it's like a small like junior college with Sebastian Janikowski.
Oh, Seabass.
He would be
Seabass.
fun. He liked
You know what?
the
It
liquor.
might have been our resident Sooner fan, Cody, and we can ask him about this, who saw Sebastian Janikowski in Hawaii picking up a sixer at the ABC store.
It doesn't surprise me. He, I was watching. I don't remember who was talking about it the other day, but someone was on a podcast that I listened to. I want to say it might have been. It seriously might have been Danny Cannell, and it might have been on the radio, but he was on something I was listening to,
The
and
the
he was
Seminole
saying,
Homer himself.
yeah, he was saying that at a certain point in time, they were in like a big bowl, like the Sugar Bowl or something, and their curfew was like midnight, and Janikowski came in at like 4 a.m. Like just like didn't listen to the curfew, came at 4 a.m, and Bobby Bowden was just like, he's Polish, he'll be fine. He'll be good. He'll be good.
Oh, that's so funny. He's Polish. He should be fine. Well, if you drank with Bobby Bowden, you could ask him about those stories, man. All right. Well, that's it. That's it, man. This is the off season, baby. Zooch, anything else?
Not much. We still got about we're at the end of January now, so a monthish until spring practices start
Spring
for teams,
football,
I guess. We got
March
next
Madness a little bit.
March Madness. Your Niners are in the Super Bowl.
Well, next episode, because we do every 2 weeks. So hopefully in the next episode, I'm wearing a 49er jersey, or I will have to give a very uncomfortable speech at the beginning of the show
They have to
addressing
finish the story.
what is. Yes, finish the story. Yes. Oh, shouts out CM Punk. He tore his triceps. WrestleMania season ruined.
Also, last thing I'll say is everyone light a candle and say a prayer for Detroit Don. He has been
Yep.
MIA
Yes.
since the Lions
Detroit Don.
lost.
Yes, please send a prayer for Detroit Don. Yeah, if you guys don't know, Detroit Don, big time, probably the biggest Detroit Lions super fan, maybe under Eminem only. But yeah, he usually is very active on social media, and he has been MIA since the loss. So say a prayer for Detroit Don. He will respond, and we hope for the best. Anything
Yep.
else, Such?
I don't think so. Just I guess now everyone go watch college basketball this week and let us know if there's any certain teams you want us to talk about. There's a lot to cover in good
There is
old
a lot
college
to cover.
basketball.
There is
So
a lot to cover. So hopefully we'll just try to cover the funny and wild stuff. But that's it. We will see you guys in 2 weeks. Thank you for listening.